Thank you everybody for coming out. This is great. This is our kind of inaugural marketing event for DeLand, and Joey and Tim and some other people in the room. We appreciate you being a part of it. It's exciting to get people together that are like-minded, that want to talk about creative things and kind of see where it goes. So let's see. I have some notes here. I probably should. As they're filtering out, I'll just kind of give you a little of my background. I'm Lee Murray with Signal Media. We're located over in the Da Vinci House. And we've been in DeLand for about 6 months. Prior to that, we were in Ormond Beach. Been in business for about 8 years. We do business in Orlando as well. But moving over to DeLand was kind of one of those things that I never thought would happen. And I always felt sort of out of place in Ormond because it's sort of more for retirees and it's not really a big community. But moving here was so great because now, DeLand's such a great community, and having gone to Stetson and been part of that community in the past, it's great to be back. So having worked with clients here locally, I thought, we need to do more stuff like this where we get people in one room and everybody can kind of rub shoulders and meet like-minded creative people and just see where that goes. So for this event, the purpose of this event is really for just that, for us to get everybody in a room and make some new connections, and then maybe learn some things about marketing, some good takeaways. We want to talk about some big picture things like photo and video, how to tell your story, and we're going to talk about some more minutia things like conversion rate optimization and how to scale your marketing in 2019. So hopefully what you'll get from this are some new ideas, but maybe some practical things you can take back into your companies. I'd like to thank our sponsor for tonight. Yes, our first event, and we have a sponsor. How cool is that? Ryan James from Surety Bank. Thank you, Ryan. I just want to say something about Surety Bank. Full disclosure, they're one of my clients, so that's sort of how that worked out. Surety, if you don't know Surety, has been a bank here in DeLand for over 90 years, and I've had a lot of fun working with Ryan and getting to see just the unconventional way that they do business. It may not be the bank that you see on the billboards, but I can tell you with 100% confidence that the things that they are doing and the vision that Ryan has for the bank is pretty phenomenal. There's some pretty unique national partnerships that they're working on right now that are about to come to fruition this year, and that's really exciting to see. A bank of Surety size play with their peers in their peer league and really just blow them out of the water. So, I wish that were like plastered on every single billboard, but that's not really where we need to spend our marketing dollars. So, so yeah, thanks Ryan, thanks Surety for sponsoring. And if this goes well, hopefully it'll go well. We'll do this again next year or in some other period of time, and we'll bring more people. I'd also like to thank Joey for hosting. What a beautiful space. If you guys got to see this in the daylight, this is like the money spot in DeLand. The light just comes in, and if you go to his website and look at his video and images, they've done some work recently for some of our clients, and it's just amazing. The shots they can get in here is like heavenly. So they've got a money spot, and they're doing some really good work. So I appreciate you opening up the doors tonight. So tonight we have 3 speakers: myself, Joey, and then Tim with Parkin Consulting, based out of Sanford. And we're going to jump right into it. We have about 20 minutes per speaker. We'll go about an hour, and then please feel free to stick around for as long as you'd like. Eat all the food and the desserts because I can't eat all of that. Okay. So let's start with Joey. I want to introduce Joey. Studio Creative Group, as you know, he's owner and cinematographer. Some pretty amazing things here. Telly Award-winning filmmaker and international voice actor. Served as a voice of Visa, TGI Fridays, Republic Airlines, and Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Member of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences and Emmy Awards judge. Currently lives in DeLand with his wife Allison, 6-month-old daughter Delaney, and golden retriever Ellie. So let's welcome Joey. Yeah.
Thanks, sir. Because we are filming tonight, so you walk into a film studio, we kind of assume that you're okay being on video, so I'll take your participation tonight as your video release. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name's Joey. I am the owner and cinematographer here at the Studio Creative Group. I happen to have an amazing team in the back row with us tonight that makes me look really good. I have the unfortunate role as the face of the business, but these guys do all of the hard work that make us, why, thank you. They do all the hard work that makes us look really, really amazing. I have a unique background, and I only talk about it so that you can understand my creative philosophy and my marketing philosophy, how I go about creating photo and video. I got my start in the production industry, as you've probably guessed, as a voice actor. I did voiceover for radio, television, movies, all kinds of stuff. And I found as a voice actor, I had this big, natural, booming radio game show announcer voice. What I found was, though, that I never used that in my voiceover work. That 40 years ago, that's what people wanted. Everybody wanted that big radio sound. These days, and over the past 20 years with my career in voiceover and production, what we've shifted to is storytelling. It's natural delivery. It is sounding as though you're the potential client's neighbor. You're the guy that they know from down the road. So my voiceover career, in spite of this big baritone voice, has really been spent talking as though I were just the guy next door. It's not doing the big booming radio guy thing. I tell you that to explain that my philosophy on video production is much the same. That the video production that so many people are used to and that so many people still do today doesn't focus on the story as well as it should. People focus on that old radio sound, the old style of doing things. We're still catching up in especially smaller to medium-sized business marketing on delivering video and photo that is messaged properly and addressed to the right people in the right way. We got there years ago in voiceover. In video, we're still struggling. And I think a lot of that is that in all of our pockets right now, we have some of the best cameras that have ever been produced. These are 10 times the quality of many of the cinema cameras that have been used to produce some of the largest blockbuster films in the past 100 years. The camera in your pocket is better than most of those cameras. We wield these in an improper fashion, though, and I see that online all the time, and it's disappointing for me to see small, medium, even large-sized businesses doing a disservice with this incredible technology. You can go out right now, even above this, you can spend $2,000 to $3,000 and get an amazing DSLR camera or video camera. But a great looking image is not what it takes to capture an audience's attention. While that's a piece of that puzzle, we need to layer in great lighting, great audio, more importantly, great storytelling that is on point, that has the appropriate message delivered to the appropriate audience in the appropriate fashion. It's important to target your audience and understand the message you want to deliver to them, the message you want them to receive, and most importantly, what you need them to do once they've received that message. It's one thing to send that message out into the ether and hope for the best, but when you can really drill down, and this plays a lot into what we're going to talk about with marketing later, I'm sure, as well. When you can drill down how to properly target your market, get into their funnel, their creative space, their mental space, and have them hear the message that you wanted to deliver, and have them respond in the fashion that you hoped they would respond, you're really nailing it. Now you're moving forward with real marketing, with real sales technique. And I want to show you an example of what I'm talking about. So I actually have a video that I'll show you. Being the video guy, I'm going to have a lot of video tonight. Not a lot, I've got a few. This is a wonderful example of messaging done with the highest levels of technology possible. The best possible way to deliver a message that was not properly addressed to the receiver. And this is one of my favorites in that world.
Das hier ist ein Mainsektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwestens. Das Gerät für das Überlebensradar.
German Coast Guard. What are you thinking about?
So it's a fun example, it's hilarious, but we see this very often in the marketing world and the video production world, that the US Coast Guard obviously has the very best technology out there. They sent the most clear and powerful signal they possibly could. It was delivered perfect pitch, completely understandable English language. What they did not understand was their audience and how they wanted that audience to respond to the message. They did not consider who would be receiving that message and the action that they needed once that receiver got that message, right? We see that in business quite a bit as well. You put out a marketing video, you don't get any calls back. You spend 30 grand on a guy like me to make an amazing, beautiful video with all of the Hollywood gear that I can bring out, and you don't get a single phone call from it. That's because your message was off, not because the imagery wasn't beautiful or you didn't deliver it in an amazing fashion. Your message was off. You didn't consider your receiver and what you needed them to do once they got that message. So that's one of the things when people come into the studio to talk to us about producing video or photo, one of the first questions I ask is, who is your audience? And then I ask, how are they going to be receiving this message? Is this a telephone commercial or a TV commercial, a web commercial? Is this going on your website? Is this going to be shown at presentations? How are you delivering this message to your audience? And then, what's the message? What exactly do you want to say to these people? And once they get that message, what do you want them to do? Do you want these people to click on a buy now button on your website? Do you want to direct them to your website? Do you want them to pick up the phone and call you? Do you want to have them explore the product further on your page? What are we trying to get these people to do? What's the end goal of this message that we're sending? And that becomes very, very important to how we produce your message and deliver it to your potential clients. So we go through all of those questions with every one of our clients so that we can help produce the best quality work that we can to get your message to the right people on point and get them taking the proper action once they've received that message. So there's a lot of thought, a lot of work that goes into that. There's a lot of psychology that goes into that. But more than anything, it's just thinking about your audience. Who are you talking to? What do you want them to do once they get that message? And what is that message they're trying to get? So you can create amazing video with the phone in your pocket. You can go out and spend a couple grand and create an amazing video. I encourage you, whatever you do, if you're creating video or photo for your own business or for other clients, whatever it might be, consider all of those questions as you move forward. And there's some other interesting points about video that I like to talk about. One of the current statistics is that Facebook has become one of the largest video delivery platforms in the world, even more so than YouTube for marketing videos. I think that everybody that owns a business has probably put a video on YouTube at some point, or Facebook at some point. 89% of the videos on Facebook are watched with the sound off. 89% are watched with the sound off, because we're all sitting in meetings or seminars like this, scrolling through our Facebook. Right? Watching, not listening, but we're watching, seeing what the content is. I wanted to show you real quick. I'm going to pick on the Athens Theater because they're a partner of ours. We're sponsors at the Athens. We currently do all of their video production. I wanted to pick on them just a touch. And I wanted to show you, back before we took over their video production, what one of their marketing, Siri understands, what one of their marketing videos looked like. And I'm going to play this for you without sound, because I want you to see what most people see as they watch a video like this on Facebook. So here it is without sound. This is from 3 or 4 years ago. So we kind of have a message here at the end, right? But there was nothing, if I'm scrolling through Facebook or on the web and I see that, there's nothing that compels me to continue watching that. Yeah. There's nothing that compels me to even turn on the sound on a video like that. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to watch to the end to see that closing graphic with all of the great information that I need. I'm just going to keep going. So they have missed an opportunity to get their message across to me, right, by not delivering a beautiful message in the proper way and considering the receiver of that message. I'm going to play it for you with sound so you can hear what was going on there. Quality of sound on this one is also an issue that we'll talk about as well.
Hi, I'm Riley McDonald, and I play Paul.
I'm Aladdin Jones, and I play the Beast. Come be our guest
And see Beauty and the Beast Jr.
at the Athens Theater.
February 19th through March 6th.
It's funny I'm not sounding. The music are too loud.
Right. There's a lot of things going on in that on the video production side that we could talk about. But ultimately, the biggest point with a video like that is they did nothing to entice me to want to come see that show. They told me information about the show. They got their information across. But there was nothing that would compel me to want to take a step further, compel me to visit the website, compel me to buy tickets, compel me to show up at the box office and see that show. They're one example, and I use them because they're wonderful friends of ours, and we do all of their work now. But we see this in many businesses, where we'll see a business owner set up a great camera or even a crappy camera and film themselves talking about their product, talking about their business, and they put it out into the ether and nothing comes from it. Because there's no reason for anybody to stop scrolling on something like that to see what's going on. There's no storytelling, there's no hook, there's nothing that grabs your attention and makes you want to watch more. So one of the things that we focus on as a video production company is storytelling. You as business owners, as individuals, have a story that needs to be told, and that story is what's going to help connect you to your audience. Whether it's the story of the show that's going on at the Athens, or the story of your new product or your new service, whatever it is, there's a story there that needs to be told, and there's a way to tell that story that will connect with people, hopefully on an emotional level, that will inspire them to do whatever it is you're asking them to do. So I'm going to show you one of my personal favorites we've done for the Athens, since we're talking about them already. And I'm going to show this to you first without sound, so you can see how proper storytelling without sound can capture your audience. So we'll start there, and then I'll show it to you with sound. So with that video, we followed a very specific formula that we had in mind, and I'll show that to you again with sound in just a moment because I think it's important as well. Immediately, the opening frames, the first 3 seconds of that video, we wanted to intrigue the audience. We wanted to capture their attention. And we did that with the mystery of the feet walking towards the camera. It's a very dark and mysterious kind of opening. It drives curiosity. What is this that's going on? Then we hit them with the drone shot of the marquee at the Athens. Now they know who we're talking about and what's going on. So they've got an inkling of what's going to happen next, just by watching without even hearing it. And then we start introducing the characters who are costumed very well, makeup very well, gorgeous lighting, really cool, mysterious kind of look. And we tell a story as we travel down the alleyway until we get to the murder, now very obviously. Even if you're not hearing this, you see somebody getting stabbed, you know immediately this is probably Jekyll and Hyde if you're even vaguely familiar with any of these stories. This is very clearly Jekyll and Hyde. As Mr. Hyde moves through the fog, he transitions into Dr. Jekyll. We have told the story, pretty much the entire story of Jekyll and Hyde, with the exception of his death, we have told in a 50-second commercial. And at the end, we finish with the nameplate where we show the date and time and information. But with a video like that, we have people watching through to the very end. That first Athens video that I showed you for Beauty and the Beast garnered 880 views on social media. This commercial garnered 25,000 for a local theater. And that's complete views start to finish. That's actually 100% view time. So we actually garnered 25,000 views on this video versus 800 for the other because people were intrigued, people watched because we told a story. And we told a story that we knew would captivate the audience that we were targeting. I'm going to show that to you again with sound because I want to show you how audio can be layered in to help enhance that storytelling, grab people's attention, because hopefully, and our goal with things like this, is that people will watch for a few seconds. I'm going to drop my phone on the floor. People will watch and then immediately say, man, what is that? Turn the sound on. And now they're listening and we have their attention. So we'll do that again with sound, courtesy of Ted Kismar, our audio engineer in the back. Have to give him credit for this amazing sound. I didn't have to do any voiceover, which was always disappointing for me because I'm a voiceover guy. Yeah, that was not my laugh. But I didn't have to do voiceover. I didn't have to tell anybody anything. I didn't have to say a single word in that promo for you to understand what you were looking at and for you to stay interested to see the message at the end, or at least read through the description of that video where the Athens described where you could buy tickets, when the show dates were, all of those sorts of things. So understanding what is going to capture your audience's attention is critical in getting that message across. And this was highly effective. This is the best-selling show the Athens has ever done. And they continue breaking those records with every show because they do amazing work. Don't get me wrong, this isn't us doing that. They do amazing work. We help. We help get their message out to the right people in the right way. Now that was a very dramatic story that we told in a very dramatic fashion. This is a very cinematic, dramatic kind of look. But we also tell the story of businesses and individuals. I want to show you briefly before I wrap up our latest promo. One is a shameless plug because you're in my space. But two, because I believe, have done a wonderful job with our latest promo of telling the story of who we are, what our philosophy is on what we do, without having to shove down your throat what it is that we do and trying to sell you on a bunch of stuff. Our hope is, and it's working, that this latest promo will grab people's attention and make them want to learn more about who we are and come in and get a product like this for themselves. But we focused on the story first and foremost, and honestly, the inspiration for this promo came from the script. We developed the script first and then developed the video around that. And I have to thank Spencer Meal, our staff director, who's sitting in the back of the room right now, for the script that inspired this promo. But this is our latest, and this is just another example of storytelling through video to captivate your audience and drive their curiosity, and that's exactly what we tried to do here.
Humans are visual creatures. We're storytellers that are drawn to moving images. We live in a very crowded and noisy online world, and finding ways to stand out and showcase your business can be a daunting task. The heart and soul of your marketing and customer acquisition is great content. At the Studio Creative Group, we are storytellers. We are filmmakers. We are photographers. And we are a part of your local community. We understand the power of still and moving images in helping connect you with your clients. Your story is compelling, moving, and important. What story can we tell for you?
So a couple of things that we did in that video that I'm particularly proud of in delivering the message properly. We addressed the storytelling side of the house, which is the point that I try to get across to all of our potential clients, is that first and foremost, we're here to tell your story. And that was a little bit of our story and our philosophy on video production, whether it be commercial or narrative. We're telling a story. But technically, there are a few things we did in that video that help as well. I don't know if you noticed on the bottom, there was captioning on that video, right? That captioning is burned into the image. Cannot be removed, cannot be turned off. So when that video plays on social media or the web, wherever it might be, that captioning is always there. So those 89% of people that are watching with the sound off are going to read my words, even though they can't hear my beautiful baritone. They'll read the words, and they'll know what it is that I'm saying. But the other side of that, on a technical side, is that that text on that screen is also burned into the back end of the video in the metadata. So that script is embedded in the metadata of the video. So for our SEO guys in the house, that means that all of that metadata and all of those words are now attached to that video wherever it lives, right? Every bit of that is embedded within that video, which means that it's searchable, it's attached to all of our SEO. So not only are people seeing this text pop up on the screen, but the back side of the house is seeing that as well and putting this in front of more people. So we did a handful of things to this video to make sure that we got the right message across, we're getting it to the right audience, we understand who that audience is, what it is that we think they want to hear, and we also understand what it is we want them to do. This video specifically is designed just to garner attention. This video is designed to get people's curiosity up and drive them to my website. There's no other purpose behind this video. There's no click to call now, there's nothing else. I just want people to come see who we are on my website, because once I get you there, I'm going to have your attention. You're going to pick up the phone and call me or shoot me an email. And then my website will continue the funnels, which our sales and marketing guys are going to talk about. But the idea is to get your attention, to let you know who we are, get you thinking about us, and then get you onto our website to learn more or explore on our social media more, whatever that channel may be. So all of the takeaways from this really are that you have an amazing tool in your pocket to create amazing video. You don't necessarily have to hire us to do all of these kinds of things. And for a lot of you who own businesses, work at businesses that handle video in your marketing channels, you're creating video, whether you're hiring people or you're doing it in-house. I urge you all to consider not only the look and sound quality and lighting and all the technical sides of the video, consider your message, consider your audience with that message, and then consider what you want them to do with that message once they receive it. And don't be that Navy ship sinking out there without being able to get anybody to hear their message. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Okay, let's get started. So next up is Tim Parkin. And Tim is the consultant president of Parkin Consulting, also a good friend of mine. We spend a lot of time on Slack. I'll just tell you that right now. Working out our businesses and working out, client issues. He's been a really good partner to have. Slack. It's like it's an internal messaging tool. Yeah, check it out. It's cool. You can get it for free.
Hey!
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if they're in the same office, that works too. So tell me a little about Tim. Tim, first of all, I'm going to read what he has written here, but I'm also going to say that aside from being a friend, Tim has got some killer ideas about business, marketing, software development, everything that has been his background, his history. I mean, when I have technical questions, I go to Tim. So he's big in my world. So he works with clients nationally, of course, to optimize performance and increase conversions. Conversion rate optimist. Is it optimist? Okay, not a pessimist.
That's right.
Conversion rate optimization expert, avid reader and hobbyist magician. So if this all goes to crap, we're going to just have Tim get up here and do some card tricks. He's located in Sanford with his wife and new daughter, Ruby, who is beautiful. Please welcome Tim. Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lee, for that generous introduction. I was going to say, these are not my slides. Okay, so let's talk about optimizing your marketing. And You can see the slides here. If you have any questions at any point, feel free to interrupt me. This is very casual. I'd be happy to answer any questions or specifics that you want to know about. But we're going to talk about optimizing your marketing, what that means, why you would do it, and how to do that. So first, obviously, is why would you optimize your marketing? Obviously, the primary objectives are to increase your return on investment. You're spending money on marketing. You want to get the most from that. If you optimize your marketing, you can also drive revenue. And of course, you can increase profitability. If you can spend the same amount but get better results, obviously your profits increase. Or if you can spend less and get the same or better results, your profitability will increase. So profitability is a key reason to optimize your marketing. Also here, there's two long-term objectives, and that's really to understand your customer and their mindset. Because the better you understand your customer, the better marketing you can do. And this is what Joey did a great job talking about, is understanding that message and who you're speaking to and how it's going to resonate when they receive that. It's so important. And lastly, becoming a data-driven organization. A lot of companies make decisions internally. You've heard, the highest paid opinion in the room, a Hippo. But if you make decisions based on data, you can make better, smarter decisions more quickly, more easily, and it's based on actual facts, not opinions or people's feelings. So ultimately, this is all about money. We want to use the money we have, invest it correctly, so we can generate a better return. So what I focus on is conversion rate optimization. And what that really means is taking the efforts that you're investing in your marketing, your advertising, and you're generating attention, you're generating awareness and traffic, and then converting that traffic into a purchase, into a sale, into a conversion. So that could be generating leads, could be generating sales, depends on your business, of course, but it's all about a conversion, that ultimate goal, getting someone to do what you want. So if we look at this simple equation here, you have people who come to your website, those are your website visitors, times your conversion rate, that's how many people would become a lead or make a purchase, times the lifetime value of a customer or the lifetime value of a lead, and obviously that equals your revenue. So just as an example, if you have 100,000 website visitors every month, a 10% conversion rate, $100 lifetime value, you're doing $1 million a month. And so if we look at this equation, really there's a couple ways that we can increase revenue, right? We can get more website visitors, we can increase our conversion rate, or we can increase the lifetime value of our customers. The challenge becomes, with lifetime value, it's hard to increase. How do you keep someone longer? There's so much competition, there's so many other draws for the customer, and also accruing that value, if you were able to increase lifetime value, you have to wait to get that money, to get that value from the customer. Website visitors is another difficult problem because you can't just get more visitors very easily. You could ask more people on the street to come visit your website, but they're not your ideal customers. And so you have to find the right people to come to your website, and of course that costs money to get in front of those people. The conversion rate is the only thing here that's easy in terms of it's in your control. You can change everything about your conversion rate because you control your website, you control your marketing. And so if you understand how your customers act and where they're coming from, you can make adjustments to improve your conversion rate. And as we can see here, when you improve your conversion rate, for example, doubling it, based on this equation, your revenue doubles. And so I'm not saying it's easy to double your conversion rate, of course, but the more you increase it, the more your revenue will increase as a result. So now we're going to look at the effective marketing mix. These are the three key elements you need to have effective marketing. The first here is customer desires. You have to understand what your customers actually want. Not what they say they want, but what they actually want. Henry Ford said if he asked people what they want, they would have said faster horses. And of course, he built a car. So we have to understand what the customer actually wants, and they often don't tell you what they really want. Next, you have to have the right features and benefits. I'm assuming your product is good, otherwise you wouldn't be in this room. But you have to have a good product. You have to have good features, solid benefits to your product or service. And then you need a clear and compelling message. And this is what Joey did a great job speaking about, is you have to have a very compelling, interesting message that grabs people's attention and resonates with them. So if we look at number one, if you understand what your customers really want and you have a good product, you don't have the compelling message. And so you can't communicate with them. They're not going to understand it. If we look at number two, you're missing having a good product. You're selling a pipe dream because you don't have the actual benefits of your product. Number three here, you have a good product and you have a compelling message, but you don't have the right customers. You don't understand what they actually want. This is where a lot of startups fall. They build something really interesting, they have a cool message, but they can't reach the right audience. And number four really is where marketing becomes effective. When you have all three of these elements, that's when your marketing can really hit the spot and have an impact. What I mainly focus on is conversion optimized marketing. And so again, we're looking at three elements here. There's the rule of three. There's three things for everything. And here you first have to start with the customer persona. We have to know who you're targeting, where do you find them, what do they do, how do they think, etc. The second is perception. You need to understand the customer's perception of the marketplace. And this is who are the competitors, who are they considering, how do they consider alternatives, do they understand your positioning and your differentiation. You need to understand the customer's view of the marketplace. And then down here is a pattern. You need to understand the customer's pattern of behavior. How do they act? How will they react? What gets their attention? What causes them to take action? What's their motivation? And again here, if you look at number one, if you don't understand how your customers behave, this is where most people are at. When you have the right customer and you can understand their view of the market, but you don't understand what causes them to take action, your marketing is just going to hit a wall over and over because you don't know what gets them to take action. On number two, you can have the right customer avatar and you can understand their behavior, but if you don't understand their view in the marketplace, then you think that you're better than you are. You think you're the big company, or you think you have a differentiation, but you really don't. And so there's not going to be a connection there. And third, again, is if you have the right perception of the marketplace and you understand how the users behave, but you just can't find the right users. And again, a lot of startups fall in that corner. So really, if you have all three of these, that's where you can understand who are the right people, how will they behave, and where do we stand out in the marketplace, and that's how you can drive conversions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Really, to get effective marketing from a conversion perspective, we need to have a cycle. And so the cycle here, as you can see, is to experiment, to try something new, to measure the results of that, and then to make improvements. It sounds really basic, but so many people miss this. And so the race car here is a good example because a race car is a track. It's a loop. You keep going around. And you might stop every once in a while for a pit stop, to tweak some things, to improve some things. Maybe a tire blew out, you need to replace it. But you keep going. Is the car going the wrong way?
It's going the wrong way.
It's going the wrong way. Stock
Never
image.
go that way.
They need to work with the Studio Creative Group. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's driving backwards. It's the famous backwards Indy 500. But in marketing, it's a loop. We need to repeat and improve. And this is incremental improvement. Too many people in marketing treat it like a drag race. From point A to point B. We run and then we stop and we're done. And it either worked or it didn't, but now we're going on to the next race. And so instead we need to have a loop. This is a cycle of improvement. And that leads me to the 1% solution. And this is something that you can apply beyond marketing and in life in general. But if you improve by 1% a day, then in 70 days you're twice as good. And this is how the math works, compounds. And actually, if you improve by 1% a day for a whole year, you'll be 37 times better. And if you do this for 5 years, it's like 17 million times better. It's insane. But 1% a day. And so this is really what I want to focus on, not only in marketing, but in business and in life, is how can we improve by 1% a day, this small improvement. And there's a word for this, Kaizen, incremental improvement. So the key here to successful marketing is to experiment. We have to try new things. We have to innovate. If we stay the same, if we do what we've always done, we'll get the results we've always got. And so to experiment, what's going to be successful for your business is unique based on your target location, your target market, your product and service, your differentiation, et cetera. And remember that marketing is a process, not an event. It's not something you do one time, we run a campaign, and then we're done. We need to keep iterating, keep improving, and keep seeing what works. And so the only way to find that out is to experiment. I don't know what that is. So here's just a great quote I like. Success is never final. Failure is never fatal. It's the courage that counts. So you never reach the epitome of success. You can always be more successful. And failure never kills you, hopefully. And so you have to have courage. You have to be courageous and bold to keep trying new things, innovating, and put yourself out there. And this really is the atmosphere and the culture of experimentation, trying new things. This is a famous diagram, but on the right, on the left here, you see what people think success looks like from point A to point B. And on the right here, we see what it actually looks like. And if you think about your life and anything you've done in life, this is reality. And once you understand this and accept it, it becomes so much easier. When you're caught up here in the middle, it feels a lot better knowing that this is what the map looks like. But if you assume it's going to be like that, you're going to be in a really rough spot. So here I just want to give you 3 practical ways that you can do this, that you can build a culture of experimentation, innovation for your marketing. The first is there's a small company online you might have heard about called Google, and they used to have this rule called the 20% time, which means their employees could spend 20% of their time on a personal project. And what happened is people would work on really cool projects, and they'd innovate. And half of Google's products came as a result of this, including Gmail, Google Maps, AdSense. Some of the best products that you and I both use every day came out of this 20% time, this experimentation, trying new things. And actually, AdSense accounted for 25% of Google's revenue at one point. So the 20% time of experimentation led to transformative developments from Google. So earmark time for testing. It's important to set aside some time and some money, some budget to experiment, to try things that will fail. The second is to prioritize and focus. There's not enough time, there's not enough money to really focus, to experiment on everything. So you have to focus here. You can't test everything. And so we recommend 1 or 2 experiments at a time, depending on your budget and resources, but typically 1 or 2 is great. And to start with the big ideas. Start with the big rocks. The things are going to be radically different, radically new. There's an old story about a grandmother who was making bread, and she cuts off cuts off the ends of the loaves. And he said, oh, why do we do that? He said, I don't know, ask your mother. So he asked her, why do we do it? Oh, we've always done that. And so ultimately you go up 5 generations and they found out the box that they put the bread in was only so big, and so they had to cut the ends off. And the child saw that and followed that, et cetera. So don't do what you've always done. You have to experiment. And that starts with radically different ideas. And the third thing is to take great notes. As you experiment, as you do marketing, and anything in your business really, you should document your results. What's working, what's not working. If you don't document this, as many people don't, you're never going to learn what really was the cause of it. And this also creates a hub of knowledge, which is really interesting, particularly in bigger companies, because you can share this knowledge about ideas that you've tried, things that have worked, different people's perspectives, and even junior people often ignore their ideas because they're not the senior people, but they have interesting and innovative ideas oftentimes. And this helps keep you dry, and dry is an acronym for don't repeat yourself. Too many times I've seen clients who do the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. And as you know, that's the definition of insanity. So make sure you take great notes, remember what you've done, and learn from it. Now, when we talk about conversions and how do we drive behavior that we want, data is the currency. Data drives everything today, everything you do on your phone, on your computer, Siri and Amazon Echo, it's all being recorded, and it's all being processed and used as data points. And so when we think about data, you want to make sure that you're tracking and measuring everything you can. And you can actually track and measure a lot more than you would expect. So you can track every action a user takes, how they move their mouse, what things they submit, which forms they complete, which things they download from your website, are they following you on social media, et cetera. And from this tracking, you can create segments of users. Who are your most engaged users? Who are your current customers? Who are your past customers? Who are people who bought something and then left? Or who are people who added something to the cart and then abandoned? There's lots of different segments you can create. Who are people who will follow your page but have never purchased something? So if you think about these segments of users, it'll create interesting ideas of campaigns you could run and people you could target. And this will help you determine the ROI and the effectiveness of your marketing, and also understand why does something succeed, why does it fail. Because the more data points you have, the more you can analyze that and understand what's working, what's not working, and how can we improve this for the future. So if we talk about data, let's talk about data collection, just to give you a brief overview of some of the tools and technologies that we have here. On the right-hand side, you see a funnel analysis here. And so we're tracking a sales funnel. If you can read this barely, it says homepage, product, cart, checkout, thank you page. This is a typical e-commerce checkout when you go to buy something on Amazon. And if you see these percentages at the bottom, these are the drop-off rates. How many people leave at that step? And so we can see right away that the first step has the biggest number, the biggest drop-off. So that tells us right away that that's the step we want to focus on. There's a problem with that step. It might be a technical problem. It doesn't look right on the screen. Or it might be a consumer problem. They don't understand the product, or the price is too high, there's not free shipping. But the first step seems to be the problem. So with this funnel analysis, we can see where do we begin thinking about the problem and how can we optimize that. The next type of tool we have is a heat map. And this is really interesting because on a heat map, we can get a look at where people are looking or clicking or moving their mouse on the screen. So this is actually a heat map of eye tracking. It's software that watches your eyes. So when you look at the screen, we can see where you're looking. And so here you can see that people actually look at the baby's eyes, they look at the headline, and they're looking at the first sentence of this copy. And it's interesting because people look where people look. I was in Italy one time with a friend, and it was late at night, and he just stood on the sidewalk, and he just went like this. He just stood there. And everyone who walked by went like this, because people look where people are looking. So if you look somewhere, someone's going to look there. And so we see this all the time on web pages, on marketing material, and collateral, et cetera, that if you put pictures of people, people will look at the people to see where they're looking. And in this case, this is a really good example because the baby is looking straight at the headline. And so if you want to have a headline that people will look at, you put a picture of someone who's going to look right at that headline. And you can see here also, this is what's called the F pattern. I won't get too technical here, but the F pattern of how we read. You start at the top left, you go over a little bit, you read the first part of it, then you skip a bit, then you read more, and you skip a bit, you read more, and it forms different F letters here because this is how we read text on a page. And so by using these tools, we can understand how people think, how people act, and knowing that will help us to drive the conversions. So briefly, some other tools here we have the scroll map, a click map. We can see how people scroll on the page, where they click on the page. You can even record their session. So when you're browsing Amazon, they can be recording everything you do, so they can watch it later as a video and see where you moved your mouse, where you clicked, did you start to search something and stop? I mean, it's creepy, but it's amazing technology, and you can use it to your advantage to understand, did someone get stuck in a process? Could they not check out? Did they get confused about where to go, et cetera? And then we can have custom events. So if someone has a phone number on your website and they click to call, we can track that. Even though it's a phone call, we can still track that. And then form activity. If you start to fill out a form and you stop, or you filled out one field a couple times, we can see that. So there's all types of data that we can collect from users to understand how they behave. So the key point here is to become data-driven. Even if it's a little bit, if that's your 1%, remember that data is so important. It's the new currency for marketing. It's a great saying here, logic makes people think, emotion makes them act. And so what we can do with data is understand that emotion that's driving that action. Because not everything is logical. Customers, as you know, being customers yourself, you're not logical. You often make emotional decisions when purchasing. But here we want to make decisions for the organization, for the company, based on the data that we have. Because again, if we have better data, we can make better decisions and we can make them more quickly. So work backwards, start with the end in mind. Think about what questions do you have, what answers do you need, and what data do you need to answer those questions. So that's how you want to work backwards with the data, to figure out what data you need to collect. So just to end in closing here, here's a client case study. We started with this client, as you can see, last year. And we analyzed their data, we looked at their funnel, and we came up with some optimizations. And we launched our optimized version of their funnel in March. And it was actually a problem because you can see from February to March, the traffic, the visits to the website dropped by about 20%. And so we were a little bit worried about that, given that 20% drop in traffic typically means a decline in sales. But we launched anyways, and as a result of our optimizations, understanding the data and the customer's behavior, we can see here a 72% increase in conversion rate. So we really nailed the process there, which led to a 31% increase in sales, despite a drop in traffic, which is a significant result because they had fewer people come to their site, but even more people took action, converted, and made a purchase.
So how much does it cost?
Depends. The question is, it depends. We can talk. Let's talk later. But here you can see it's very small, but we took these results and implemented them back into their main website, not just the one funnel that we implemented. And over the next 90 days, you can see here we increased the conversion rate by 86% and revenue by 156%. This is actually a subscription box, so they charge every month. So it's transformative to their business. So again, understand the data that you have, how you can use that data to understand the customer's behavior, and then that's how you can drive conversions. And so I would urge you for the 1% solution, what is your 1% today? It could be something from what I just presented. It could be something what Joey mentioned earlier or what Lee's going to present. But find your 1% every day and chase after that, because that's how we can continue to improve and drive good results. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to introduce Lee, our next guest, as you've already met him, next speaker. As Lee mentioned, he's a great friend of mine. We talk a lot on Slack. And Lee is the guy who I go to for all my marketing help. I'm a technology person, I'm a conversion optimist, but I'm not much a marketer from the traditional sense. And Lee has the mind of a marketer and a sales guy. And so all my questions about marketing, traditional marketing, digital advertising, Lee is the person I hit up for that. So use him as a resource because he's here and he's got a lot of great ideas. Lee put here that he is the smartest guy I've ever met. No, that's not right. Lee is a marketing strategist and founder and CEO of Signal Media here in DeLand. He's a co-host of a recently launched podcast, The Patient Entrepreneur. It's a great podcast. I highly recommend you check it out. I listen to it. And he's also currently a strategic advisor for creatingjobs.org, which is creating local economic sustainability in countries like Haiti and Honduras. Very cool. And he's husband and father to 3 young children and recently moved to DeLand. Lee, take it away.
Thank you, Tim. Before I begin, I just want to get that clipboard out to Lindsay because we want to get our winner here after I speak. All right, guys, I'm batting cleanup here. Here we go. I hope that what I can do is maybe bring some value to sort of bring some of these ideas together for everyone. We'll see how that goes. All right. So taking a page from Joey's book and tell a story. Let's say you want to remodel your bedroom. You just got done finished painting your wall, and you're like looking back and thinking, what would go perfectly here? Just like a really nice original piece of artwork, landscape, painted, commissioned. Put that, we deserve it. Let's go for it, right? So you say, we want to go for the best. Let's get on Google and find the best landscape painter. Let's see what we find here. Landscape painters. Claude Monet, Claude Lorraine, who Claude Monet stole his name, J.M.W. Turner, which I don't know if we know, those guys are all dead. Bob Ross, we all know who Bob Ross is. David Hockney. Does anybody know David Hockney? Frank Skinner. So we've got one guy we all know, I think. We've got two guys we've never heard of but are alive. The rest of them are dead. We got some nice, beautiful images here. We can look at those. And then here's like a collection. You know, we can go diving deeper there. And then Lori White, man, she's probably doing some SEO work, right? She's up. So you're like, who do I hire? Well, of course, we all know who we're going to hire. Bob Ross. I mean, of course you're, hello, exactly. We're hiring Bob Ross. But why? Why are you hiring this magnificently handsome, talented guy? And the reason is because you have complete confidence in Bob Ross. I mean, he's basically like a family member at this point. You feel like you know him and have rapport with him. He's distinguishable from other artists, and he's got unique expertise. Plus, he's got amazing hair. When I first saw this image, I thought, okay, I have to use this image. But I also thought, is that Will Ferrell or is that Bob Ross? I think it's just a young Bob Ross. So I think the reason why we would hire Bob Ross is because he showed you that he was an expert, which immediately made everyone else a risk, or a bigger risk, right? So you can do all the research, and you can look at all these other people, look at Lori White's site, go to the collection site, find all these reviews, and then what you end up with is, you know, nobody can beat Bob Ross. I want Bob Ross in my house, and I want him painted on my wall. So here's what I want to talk about. How can we reach Bob Ross status and scale up your marketing in 2019? All right, so first what we're going to do is look at a big picture view of, and I hope maybe this can bring together some of these talking points we've had tonight, bring them into sort of a roadmap of what this is. So starting at the bottom left-hand, the bolded ideal client persona. We'll walk through this really quickly, but here are all the elements that you want to think about when you're thinking about marketing yourself or your company, okay? Starting with ideal person. It's everything they've been talking about so far. You've got to know your audience. Everything comes back to your audience. How do you optimize for your audience? How do you message for the audience? Everything's around the audience. Next, and this is in the chronological order, branding and messaging. Your branding and messaging, you need to know the vision of your company, what's your culture like, what is driving your message to your audience. But that's only going to come from understanding your audience, okay? And then as you start to build out, you're going to most likely build a website. So you build a nice, beautiful website, and KB stands for knowledge base. A lot of professional service type companies, they're experts in their field. So what better way than to build a base of knowledge that people can land on your site from social media, from somewhere else in email, and end up there and say, hey, this checks, all these boxes are checking for exactly who I'm looking to solve my problem. Next, we look at CRM management. You want to dive deep, a lot of what Tim was talking about. What happens when they go from here to there, and how are we pushing them from marketing to sales? We want to have marketing and sales be talking the same language. Content creation, content distribution, and analyzing, optimizing. Again, a lot of Tim's world there. And again, Joey's on the content creation side. As you're thinking about creating content, distributing it, and then analyzing to optimize it, all falls back into who is your audience, okay? But those three things in the middle there, that's the engine that really drives this whole map, okay? If you're creating content and distributing it, testing it, just like Tim was talking about, creating, distributing, testing, you have these ideas, you don't know if they're going to work until you test them in front of an audience. That's what drives the growth of your company. Then as we move through this sort of infinity, never-ending cycle, you hopefully should have some success, and that will drive new leads or referrals, depending on your business. And then it drives the sales process and closed deals. And that's a whole world in itself. However, marketing extends into the sales process, and you think about cohesive branding. What are your salespeople saying? What do their emails look like? What do their presentation decks look like? All of that should continue the train of thought from the very beginning to close. Once you close, you have case studies. You can filter right back into your website, back into your branding, and you do client feedback surveys, which are always really difficult because you don't really want to know what your clients really think. But it's crucial. I did this just a few months ago, moving my shop here. And I reached out to everybody and I said, hey, we need reviews on Google. If you ever want to know what your clients think about you, ask them to give a review on Google. I mean, you're going to find out, right? So that's a really critical component. Understanding what they truly feel so that you can plug that back into your greater effort. And then, of course, one thing I think that gets missed is optimizing the team. So how are everything you're learning and everything you're doing with your marketing, how is it driving your current culture in your company and the things that you're doing next, right? That's a critical component. So this is just a 50,000 foot view. We're going to jump into one specific concept that I want to leave you guys with for the night. But even if you are doing all of this, you could still not rise above all the noise, okay? Because all of this stuff, almost everybody in the room here, probably you've heard about it, you've seen about it. Maybe you didn't see it in that exact fashion, but you know what's going on. And you got to find the time, the budget, resources to focus and spend your time building this whole thing out. But even if you're doing all that, there's still in 2019, you may not stick out or rise above. So that's what I want to talk about here, how to rise above. So ask yourself these questions. Now, we're talking in a room full of business owners and experts, really. That's the room that we kind of curated here. Is when you're building your business, you're building your personal brand and you're building the company brand at the same time. Okay, because small to mid-sized companies, it's still really about that owner that's driving the vision and the brand. So you got to think about yourself. Where you brought your business to this level. Why are people naturally drawn to you personally? Now, of course, I have a little disclaimer down here. It's true for CEOs and lead salespeople on bigger organizations because there's always a person in front of the client. Okay, so whether it's bigger sales forces or sales organizations on your mid-enterprise companies, there's still going to be a person that is demonstrating expertise to get that person down the funnel. Okay, so why are people naturally drawn to you? Your energy, infectious personality. I mean, what is it for you? That's a good question to ask. There's only 2 questions. Okay. We know for Bob Ross, his answer was a soothing voice and stylish hair, of course. But the answer that you're trying to come up with here, what it does is it dictates the format in which you're going to create your content for. Okay? So the format being video, audio, or written. And sometimes all of the above or 2 of the 3. Don't limit yourself, but if you are okay with being on the camera, be on video. That comes through. If you're okay with, you don't want to be on video, but you want a written blog, go ahead. It's just all about sharing your expertise. Second question. What are you passionate about as it relates to your work? And I think this is interesting. This is like probably the most interesting thing about what I do with my clients because I love asking this question because what it does is it really brings out people's passion. Like people forget, like they show up every day and they grind it out, but they forget what it is that really makes them come to work and why they start this company, why are they growing this business. And you think about like one of the examples I know with some of the people I'm talking with, breaking down complex solutions, seeing that light bulb go on for the customer, things like that. What is it about the work that you do that's special, and if people saw you do it, that would be infectious. For Bob, letting the art come alive as it's created and making happy little trees. All right? So what this does when you answer this question is it determines the subject matter or content. So for example, like it would determine, do you give a behind the scenes look to what you're doing to bring that expertise forward? Are you going to create a small solution to a bigger problem? With your mid to enterprise companies, you have sales forces. Well, it doesn't always make sense to do behind the scenes work. Sometimes it makes sense to think about that customer journey, solve some of those problems along the way, creating widgets or something that's in their path so that they can stair-step their way to a sales conversation. So the question to summarize all that is what part of your expertise can you share in what way that will be valuable to your audience? Because it's great if you enjoy it, but if they don't and they don't see the point, then that's there. So a couple examples. You sell insurance. Sharing a screen recording of how you break down a policy to find holes in coverage, right? That's your expertise. That's what you do. Selling homes, share how you find and analyze the best deals. Video or written or both. You sell software. We have some software guys in the room. How your audience should navigate solving their problem and tools to help them make it easier to get there. Building interactive widgets, pre-recorded instructional video. So, if you, again, go back to the audience, if you understand that buying journey and where they're starting and where they're going to finish up, then you know all the problems in between. And hopefully if someone's inside your company that has been on the other side, they're going to say, hey, I've been there and I understand that this is a real big problem no one's talking about, but if there was a solution for this, I would definitely be on board with talking further down the pipe. Sophisticated consumers that's who we all are, okay? We're all talking about consumers, but that's who we are. We are the people we're selling to. So don't forget that when you're doing marketing. You can really get a long way with your marketing by just sitting back and thinking, what do I like? What do I do? How do I operate? When I get on Facebook, what do I do? Answer those questions, you're about halfway there. But what they want to do is they want to minimize the risk by getting to know you at a deep level quickly. So the quickest way to do that is to share with them about why you are good, just like good old Bob. And you can do this by sharing your expertise that adds value to their world. So that's all about sort of finding your place to create content for what platform and in what way. Let's talk about distribution. When and how and where will you put the content in front of your audience? I know tonight is a lot, like we're putting a lot in front of you, so I get that, but bear with me here. The key is, where is your audience currently engaged? I mean, just think about that for your business. Are they on Facebook? Are they on email? Are they reading magazines? I mean, are they watching TV? They're watching Netflix? Where are they most engaged? The more you know about your audience, the more you're going to be able to answer that question. Then delivering content in the context to that platform, using organic posts, ads, and then of course one-to-one engagement. The one-to-one engagement is a killer. It's where you get the most return, but it is a big time commitment and resource commitment because you have to have people internally or pay for people externally to sit on those social platforms and really engage one-to-one, hand-to-hand combat using hashtags and that type of thing. But what can usually be scaled pretty quickly and you get lots of good results is organic posts, put it out there in the context of the platform, and then take that same thing and create ads contextually to the platform. Because with the ads you can target. That's kind of the whole point of the ad. WWBD. Bob, his audience was watching PBS, right? So that's where he found his audience. Your audience is probably on one of these platforms, or they're checking their email 700 times today. If you guys are not doing email marketing, that's something you really should think about because it's really a low-cost investment. It's all about meeting them where they are. Everybody's on email, So if you're on email, that means your customers are on email. And it's not that they need one more bad email. It's that they need a good one. Because you would love a good email if it came in your inbox. You would open it right away. And if your content's engaging and adds value, they'll stick around and eventually go down the funnel, which is the key. It's all about messaging and adding value. We're getting to the end here. Basically it's about understanding, who you are as a brand, understanding your audience, putting that message together contextually to the platform where they're engaged, and then testing. So that's that middle part of the bigger roadmap is just, creating that engine that you're testing all these little ideas and trying to find what works. Okay, quick case study. Since everybody's plugging themselves, I'll plug myself. We have a local lender here that we work with, and with lenders, they're writing mortgages, so it's a pretty boring business, when you get right down to it. So nobody really cares about it until they need a mortgage. So how do they build their business? They get realtors involved and they get referrals. So what they wanted were more realtor referral partners. So they brought us in and we created long form articles addressing the areas of concern in the realtor's business. So we're saying, hey, we understand you realtors, you have all these struggles and we actually have some expertise in that. We're going to address those. And we pushed that out on Facebook in an ad towards landing pages, a little funnel. And the result for the first ad was we yielded 10 additional realtors, which is a lot because locally, DeLand, Volusia, basically Volusia County, they pretty much have most realtors locked up on their list because they've been doing it for a long time. So adding 10 was a big win. But in addition to that, they had all these side conversations that started happening. We saw your video. We didn't know that you had the expertise in this area. We want to have you guys come out and talk to our realtors. So it just sort of exploded. What it did was it made them rise above everyone else. When you think in that world, in the realtor world, in the lending world, it's just a lot of noise. Everybody's sort of doing the same thing. So you have to do something different, which is the point of this whole thing. In 2019, you can do what everyone else is doing and do it by the book. Go to all these conferences and listen to everybody talk about Facebook and everything. But if you're not doing something that's slightly different, then people will they won't see you. So they demonstrated their expertise, the layers that came through, added value to the realtor world, and they stood out amongst their competition. So in summary, how can you stand out in 2019? Think about what how you can show your audience that will demonstrate your experience, because that's what Bob would have done, and I think that actually is Will Ferrell. Yeah. So there you go. Thank you, guys. All right. We're a little bit.